Yeah, so welcome back. This time I'm working on the upper part of the cabinet work for the Galley. A lot of oddball shapes and strange cutting and creative carpentry required. Last time around I did the planning and the cutting and the placement of the panels for the lower cabinets. They're still in place. Currently working on figuring out the upper part of the cabinet. So just follow along. Hopefully you'll find this entertaining, if nothing else. One of the first steps I had to do was to get started on planning out and cutting the end panel. I'll call it the end panel. It's the piece above the counter, just to the right of the sink. What I was going to do is cut a piece of plywood for that, and it will block off all of the old wiring. What's on the other side of that is the helm, the steering, and all the gauges and the controls and everything are up there. So that space behind this panel is going to contain the main 12-volt fuses and electrical for the operation of the boat. So the first thing I did was cut a template out of cardboard. It's a good use for a lot of old boxes. A lot of measuring, just measuring across from this existing vertical door post out to the hull, and the same thing measuring from the bottom up on both ends, as well as near the hull, the funny little curves. And cut the cardboard template and trimmed it and got it to fit as well as I could. Bit of a snug fit over there by the hull, just have to trim it a little bit. Once I got the cardboard fitting nicely, I cut a piece of plywood. The shape of the cardboard came in, tested plywood. Had to do a little bit of trimming on the plywood because the cardboard, of course, flexes a little bit when you put it in, so even if it kind of fits, the plywood's a lot more rigid, so it doesn't kind of bend into shape as well. Like I said earlier, nothing in the boat is square. I'm gonna have to trim from here down to nothing just to shave this down, and hopefully that will fit right in. So I did a little bit of trimming and got that all positioned and held in place. Once the end panel was in, the next step was to start working on, I guess, what I'll call the upper panel. It's the section kind of above the sink and extends over the stovetop. I, again, another piece of cardboard, cut a template. A couple of things I had to keep in mind. First of all, a lot of strange curves at the top where it meets the hull. Also, I needed to make sure I left enough clearance on the left side for the glass lid of the stovetop to fold up. One of those little things that's easy to forget when the stovetop is installed first without the glass on it. Need enough clearance above that. Intentionally made it a little bit lower on the right side with the idea of putting more storage in. Then I went in and cut a piece of plywood to match the cardboard, brought it out, did a little bit of trimming on it, got the plywood to fit up there nicely, and then I measured how much clearance I had behind the lower part of that plywood, because the upper part of the plywood is just attaching, screwing right onto a existing rough piece of wood. It's like a fiberglass coated piece of wood that's part of the structure of the boat. So I can't put anything behind there, but the part that protrudes below that wood, I could create a storage compartment in there. So I measured how much clearance I had behind there and then cut this opening in the wood, used a hole saw on the ends for nice round openings, and then joined the holes with the jigsaw, sanded the edges carefully. Like I mentioned in my previous video, using a down cutting jigsaw blade, so it cuts in the downstroke so it doesn't splinter the surface. Cut that, created a little wood box for behind it for the shelf and attached to the front panel. Any little fasteners that I had, I just, for wood filler, I just got some sawdust from me cutting it, mixed it with some wood glue and just used that for filling all the holes, which I'll sand later. So then I turned my attention to where else can I create storage space. So there's the area that's behind the cooktop to the left side of the counter. I figured I could create some more storage space in there without blocking the window. So again, another piece of cardboard, cut a template. Got the cardboard template to fit well. Kind of goes up and then bridges across to the compartment I had just created. Went and cut a plywood piece to match that template, came in and test fit that. Got it to fit okay. Cut another cardboard template for the side panel to enclose between that piece and the side of the hull. At the same time, I planned where I'm going to put the little openings for more storage compartments and measured how deep they can be and things like that. Brought that wood back inside and cut holes in the front using a hole saw and a jigsaw. Cut the side panel, brought that back out to the boat. Did a nice test fit, held it in temporarily with some green masking tape just to keep it from falling over, and planned out the compartments. At the same time, I also created another cardboard template for the top panel that would go above the window. So if you're looking straight up from the counter, to enclose that, and I'm going to recess it in a little bit. That way I can run wiring above that, and then maybe mount a light, like a countertop light there to give me some light. So I'll recess it up in there so it kind of hides the light and keeps it looking nice and clean. Or that's the idea anyway. Again, brought my pieces back into the shop and did some more cutting and built a little box for the back and assembled that, brought it back out to the boat. Had to do a little bit of trimming at the back because the hull tapers in toward the front, and so I do a little bit of trimming and test fitting and trimming again, got it all to fit nicely. Got the top panel to fit. I'm not attaching it yet because it all has to come out, but I'm just trying to get all the pieces to fit. So the next piece of the puzzle was the area to the left of the new Galley cabinets I've created. I'm looking for a place to install the shore power electrical panel. If you look back at one of my previous videos, this boat just had a basically a home use type 2-breaker panel, not really appropriate by current standards, just household solid copper wiring. So I'm doing away with all of that. I have used a proper electrical panel from a boat. I'm going to mount that, so I'm looking for a location to mount that. It's about 6 inches high, 11 inches wide. It has the proper breakers for the circuits I need, plus the main breaker that cuts both the hot and the neutral, which is what you need in a boat. For those of you who don't know, in a home electrical panel, the main breakers just turn the hot off, the neutral is always connected. In a boat, you want a main breaker panel that cuts both, just in case you're plugged in a marina and the polarity is reversed, so that it doesn't create any dangerous situations. Realize that to the left of the Galley cabinets, there's some kind of wasted space above the window. So I decided I would create a wood panel that extends from the cabinet about 3 feet across. So I again got another piece of cardboard and started cutting a template for it. Got the template to fit the way I thought it should, and then proceeded to cut the plywood. I also planned for an opening, obviously, because it's going to go in front of the window for the window opening. Now you'll notice that my openings in the wood and my countertop and everything like that is not parallel to the windows. And that's because I'm working in a boat. The outside of the boat kind of slopes up toward the bow of the boat. But I am trying to create my cabinets to be level to the floor and perpendicular to the door frames, and the windows are not. So as I create things look like they're not lined up, but that's because the windows are not level. Because I'm going to have other openings in the same plywood panels, like my shelves, like the openings for the electrical panel and things like that, I kind of want them to all follow the same parallel lines on the wood, so the windows looking crooked in the holes is just something I'm going to have to live with, I guess. And yes, you saw that right at the beginning of the video. We did get snow a couple of times. Got up in the morning one day, thought I was going to do some more work on the boat, looked outside, boat has snow on it. Now I can handle the whole cold, but the old vinyl windows on my canvas top can't. If I try to bend them up when it's that cold, they're just going to crack. So, a couple of days, I didn't work on the boat. Then I got back to the cabinets that I showed in this video. So what I still have to do is, on the side panel that I created, I have to create like a box behind here to enclose the top part above the window across here, and then at the end here on both sides, just behind the window and on the other side, so that I create an enclosed compartment for all my electrical, and then the shore power wiring and all the other wiring will run from the 110 volt electrical panel here as well. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to put that yet, but I got to figure out what kind of clearance I have behind here. Like I said, it's about a 6-inch by 11-inch panel that has to go in here. So I can run all the wiring up across the top here, and then above the shelves and inside the cabinet work all into the back part of the boat. So it'll all be hidden and enclosed. I'm also thinking of somewhere in here, either above this window or possibly over on this side. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'll see how all that works. Of putting the switches for the interior lighting. I've also ordered an automotive, like Android head unit that I'm going to use for basically an entertainment system in here. I'm thinking that somewhere in this panel might be a good place to mount that too. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I could put the, like I said, if you remember, I put a box in here so it's all enclosed. I could possibly put the sound system here, the head unit here, put the shore power panel up here somewhere, and then the light switches and fan switches up there. I mean, I guess I could possibly put them down here, but there's not really a lot of room there. So I'm thinking that I'll arrange all of that here. So yeah, that's a little bit more progress on things. I'm going to keep working away at these upper cabinets. Then I need to finish cutting any other plywood that I want for the interior. And then eventually it's all going to have to come back out, and I'll take it inside the shop and clean it all up, get any pencil marks off of it, give it a nice light sanding, and then stain it all. Of course, before I stain it, I'll make sure I pre-drill any holes for any fasteners and things like that, so that there's no splinters coming out of the stained wood. And get it all ready to stained, and then eventually, once I get the hull liner in up here, I'll be able to put the cabinet work in after that to hide all the edges. That's the plan anyway. So anyway, that kind of gives you a bit more of an idea of what I've been doing and where I am at with this. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please ask. I will try to answer. As I said in my previous video, I'm not an expert carpenter. I don't pretend to be one. I'm just trying to figure out how to make things work in a very strange shaped space, and just kind of trying to show you guys what I'm doing. So until next time, hope you guys enjoyed it and stay safe.